Hey everybody, John Aravosis with AMERICAblog, here to answer the question, who is Anthony Scaramucci? Now, as you may have learned this weekend, Scaramucci is the new White House communications director. Now, a lot of people have been asking, who is this guy? Why haven't we heard about him before? Well, Scaramucci grew up in New York, in Long Island, in a blue-collar family. Went on to Harvard Law, and then after that worked on Wall Street for a number of years. He's 53 years old now. Scaramucci's politics are kind of interesting because they're flaming liberal. The guy is pro-gay marriage, anti-gun. He believes in climate change. He doesn't believe in building a wall with Mexico. He thinks Donald Trump is a hack, a bully, and mistreats women. I mean, this guy would be like a godsend on the left. Now, interestingly, Scaramucci just announced that in the name of transparency, he is letting everybody know that he's deleting all of his old tweets that confirm his liberal background. Now, of course, people are finding it kind of funny that in the name of transparency, he's deleting all the evidence that he's a raving liberal. But I think that Scaramucci's going to have even more trouble with his political experience or lack thereof. The guy doesn't have a background in politics, like most people in the Trump administration at the senior levels, and I think it's a real problem. People like to talk about how cool it is to get people from the outside, but Washington is a one-industry town, and just like working in a large corporation, you need to know the corporate culture to be able to work on the inside and get things done. You need to know how Washington works in order to get your agenda through, and Trump is already finding that out. He hasn't gotten any of his main agenda items. Healthcare reform is about to go down in flames. Tax reform is about to go after it. The Congress just finished the sanctions on Russia legislation, and it doesn't include anything that Donald Trump wanted. Trump is learning what it's like to work in Washington, and you can't do it as a newbie. Takes us back to Scaramucci. Scaramucci is a newbie, and he's already having problems. If you noticed with his press conference on Friday, his first big press conference, Scaramucci was asked about Donald Trump's ongoing lie about voter fraud. His response was, well, if the president says it, there's got to be some level of truth to it. Now, a lot of people took that as being, Scaramucci being smarmy and backing up Donald Trump lying. I took it as quite the other way. My communications director, when asked, am I a serial liar, says, well, if he says it, there's some level of truth to it. There's got to be some level of truth. That suggests that there's some level of lie as well. I think this guy didn't do Trump any favors by the way he was talking about him at the press conference on Friday. Now, fast forward to Scaramucci being on CNN Sunday morning. He goes on Jake Tapper's show, State of the Union, and Jake asks him about Don Jr. having these crazy Russia meetings. As you know, Don Jr. was asked through an intermediary if he would be willing to meet with Russian government officials to talk about how they could help win the election for Trump. Don Jr.'s response? I love it, right? So Scaramucci gets asked about the meeting by Tapper, and he says, well, I think a lot of people would have gone to that meeting. So Tapper pushes him and says, really? Would you have gone to that meeting? Scaramucci kind of scratches his head, thinks a minute in silence, and then says, well, I'm not sure I would have gone. You see, I'm a Harvard lawyer, and I think about these kind of things, and I probably would have asked somebody for advice, and they would have told me, you really shouldn't be going to this meeting. You need to send some flunky, but not you yourself. That means that Scaramucci is admitting that there were legal concerns about Donald Trump attending this meeting. By saying, I'm a Harvard lawyer, that's why I'm not sure I would have gone to the meeting, he means I have some legal concerns about going to this meeting. Now, he's the new White House communications director, and he's suggesting that he has legal concerns about Donald Trump Jr. attending a meeting that even he himself isn't sure he would have attended. That's a horrible message for the Trump administration to be sending. It totally contradicts the president. It contradicts his son, Don Trump Jr. It contradicts their religious right lawyer, Jay Sekulow. It contradicts every message they're sending out there. He's totally contradicting the party line. So overall, I think Scaramucci might be smooth as hell. Some call it smarmy. But I don't think he's got the experience to get the job done. He's going to make mistakes like he did on Friday, like he did on the Sunday shows, where he tries to be nice, he tries to be well-liked to the press, and therefore he tries to almost cut the baby in half, to use the expression, where he tries to meet them halfway and say, well, I know you say Trump's a liar, but maybe there's some element of truth to what he says. In the end, Scaramucci reminds me of all of Trump's other hires. There's a really creepy New York element to a lot of the people Trump hires. And I say this as a former New Yorker, having lived in Long Island for the last 2 years, just recently moved back to DC. I love New York. I love New Yorkers. Scaramucci is this other side of New York. He's the Trump side of New York. He's the kind of creepy side of New York. There's a certain just smoothness. If you noticed at the end of Scaramucci's press conference on Friday, he did this little thing where he said, okay, everybody, bye-bye. And he gave this little air kiss to the press. Who does that? In the end, I think Scaramucci is toast. I think Trump's going to eat him up and spit him out, or he's going to get so ensnared in the scandals that are already going on and taking everybody else down with him that he's not going to be there for long. Either way, in the end, I don't think Scaramucci is going to last very long, though I don't think anybody in the Trump administration is going to last terribly long. I'm John Aravosis from AMERICAblog signing off. Please like this video, share it with your friends, share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to my videos, click the like button. Do whatever you can to help my videos, help me get my work out there. I really appreciate it. Have a great week. It's going to be an interesting one as always.